I'm going to show you how we built this team page. This is actually built using Application Craft, and this area that you see here is actually an embedded Application Craft app that's pulling data from a, in this case, factual.com database, but it could be any database, local or web-based, and it's populating that data into these what we call creative cards. So what happens is I can then click on these or scan them with my phone, and if I click on one of these, it's bringing up the card in a little pop-up window. In this case, if you scan the QR code with your phone, it'll come up in your smartphone. And then we've got all sorts of information in here. Anything I like, I can put in here a little bit of bio stuff, where I'm based, the QR code, so I can actually show my own business card, creative card code to somebody. They can scan it with their phone. So that's what it does. Now let me show you how we actually did it. And I'm going to come back now to the Application Craft system, and this is the app, the AC Team app. And this is very simple. All it does is consists of a repeater container, and so this will repeat as it retrieves data from the API. So let's take a look at some interesting things. The first thing that happens is we click on the Events tab, and we can see we've got an event when a row is loaded into this container. And if I click on the app section, we've got an event that's called when the app loads. Let's start off and see what happens when the app loads. That's our loading function. Basically, it's telling it to get a list of all of the employees. That's really the most important thing that goes on in this entire app. So what this is doing, it's using the HTTP request function, which is a part of the app object. So this is a very simple way of making API calls. And what I'm doing here is calling this URL, set up the URL to the factual database, and that is returning all of the employee data that we've got in there. So assuming that goes okay, it's going to enter this callback function here, and this displays an hourglass, and then here is the important stuff. We set up what's called a mapping object, and this simply maps the data that comes back. So data comes back in a data array, and we map that to a corresponding field in our repeater container. So the third field of data that comes back gets mapped into the LBL rname field in the repeater container, which is this one. So we use the populate widget command to take the data that's come back, which is in this array. Using this map object that we set up above, it sticks all that data into the employees repeater container. So if we now preview that, you can see how that works. It's very straightforward. It also might be quite interesting just to show you the database. This is factual.com, and what I've done is just to simply create a new database, populate it with these fields here, and that's just a sort of a simple way of generating this data. What I could have done as well is to put this into a MySQL database, or I could have created an app that collects and manages this data. So there are different ways, but Factual is a nice way of doing it on the web. And you can see here we've got just 5 rows of data, and I can modify some of these fields if I want just through my browser. Everything's web-based, very easy to do. So that's the database. Now we'll move on and see how we actually build the Creative Card app itself. Right, so here we are back in the Application Craft console, and I'm going to open up this BizCard app. This is actually the Creative Card itself. And here you can see we've got several pages in this app. Here we're into the main body of it. One of the things that this does is it can be passed in a parameter on the query string effectively, and if there is no parameter passed in, I will be taken straight away to this page where I'm shown a smaller equivalent of what we saw in the earlier app, which just lists the employees. But if it is passed a parameter, then you won't see this page, and instead it'll go straight to the home page of the person. So what I'll do is I'll run this app. I can press preview. That'll run it inside the IDE. Actually, what I'll do is go back to the first page, because it will preview always starts on the page that I'm seeing. Doing it like this, we'll start it from the beginning. There's a time delay, and now it says, okay, well I haven't got a parameter for a specific employee, so I'm just going to show this button. Click here to find someone, and here now are all the employees. And now when I click on somebody, it now opens up the creative card for me. And so what we'll do now is to take a look at the code behind this. I'm going to go straight into the code mode window. Let's hide this, give ourselves a bit more space. So when the app loads, this is the code for that, it's looking to see if it can find an input parameter using the R object, get input parameters, looking for the emp parameter name. If it can't find it, then it loads all of the employees. If it can find it, it immediately loads just the current employee. Let's go and see what's higher up here. One of the things that this does is to submit email from a message, and this handles the sending of the email. We won't go into that now. It also stores the instance inside the application craft database that's automatically associated with this app, but I don't want to show you that right now. Here we can see how we're getting all of the employees, similar to the previous app, and this one here gets the employee. So what it's doing is it's using our HTTP request function, and it's passing in down here. You'll see we've got a parameter that we pass to the factual API. That's this one here, and it's passing in the employee code that was passed in as a parameter, or that was selected from the repeater container list. And then if it's successful, it maps each of the fields, or each of the fields that we're interested in, from the factual data that comes back in a JSON object to the corresponding field inside that whole app. And that's it really. That's all there is to it. Let's just see if there's anything else of interest. Not really. Here we're setting a timeout that says after 4 seconds jump off the splash screen page. So if I click preview here, you can see it count to 4, and then it'll move either to the creative card, or it'll show the button because there is no parameter. The next thing I'd like to show you is how we actually embed this app inside a web page. So what you see here is the ACT map. So if we go back to our other browser, and we can see here the ACT map. What we have to do if we want to embed that in any web page is to select it, hover over the More button, find the Embed option, and here we've got some HTML code that we can copy and paste into our web page. So in the case of our website, find the team page, I'm going to click on the Edit button in our CMS, and if we click on the Source button, you can see how I've pasted in here that code. I'll just go back again. You can see we can also set the width and the height of the area to reserve within our web page. So that's it. Hopefully that's all been well enough explained.